This is KVUE News Daybreak.
Well, good morning and thanks for watching KVUE Weekend Daybreak. I'm Jason Puckett in today for Jenny Lee. It is 7 o'clock this Sunday morning, and let's first get you a check on the weather. KVUE Storm Team meteorologist Nathan Gogo joins us now with what we're tracking.
Yeah, a lot of clouds out there, Jason. Temperatures right now very mild. We're into the upper 70s and lower 80s. And by the end of the afternoon, we're looking at temperatures climbing eventually to 90 degrees. So the good news is it's not going to be as warm and muggy as it was yesterday. Remember, yesterday we hit temperatures in the upper 90s and even close to 100 degrees, and heat index values well above 100 degrees, as high as 110. So not as hot for today, but we are tracking some storms that will be possible as we head in towards about 4 or 5 o'clock. So radar is quiet now, just a lot of clouds out there. We widen the view, but a cold front up to our northwest, that's going to be causing and triggering some of those storms by 4 o'clock. We're going to be talking about that more in detail in our hour-by-hour forecast in just a few minutes. Jason.
All right, thanks, Nathan. And folks, to keep up with weather, make sure you download the KVUE app. You can see live radar right where you live. Check out hour-by-hour forecast and watch us live. Just search KVUE in the App Store. Well, only one day left in the Texas 85th legislature, and it looks like we have a deal on the budget for the next 2 years. KVUE's Aaron Jones explains what the more than $215 million budget is expected to cover.
The Texas legislature has now approved a $217 billion budget, the only thing it's required to do. Here's an overview. Senate Bill 1 adds $500 million in funding to Child Protective Services and more money to other health care initiatives. It also maintains the state's $800 million commitment to border security, planning to increase the number of state troopers on the Texas-Mexico border. One thing that upset some, it avoided any serious reform to the state's widely criticized school finance system. The final vote in the House was 135 to 14. The final vote in the Senate was 30 to 1.
It is a responsible budget. It meets our essential needs. It continues the policies of fiscal restraint that have shaped our success, and it positions us for the future.
And before the budget process is officially complete, Texas Comptroller Glenn Hager will need to make sure there is enough revenue available to cover budget appropriations. Then it will be handed to the governor to sign. Reporting in the newsroom, Aaron Jones, KVUE News.
Thanks, Aaron. Now that the budget has passed, the big question is, will other issues lead to a special session? Tension came to a head Friday between Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who leads the Senate, and the Speaker of the House, Joe Straus. Patrick wants the House and Senate to pass the so-called bathroom bill and another bill lowering the cap on the amount cities and counties can raise property taxes without asking voters to approve. Straus says his chamber has already compromised with a narrower, vaguely worded bathroom amendment, which applies only to public schools, and the Senate can take it or leave it. Sine die, the last day of the session is tomorrow. And along with the budget, a bill aiming to help students who are bullied in Texas schools passed through both chambers Saturday. Senate Bill 179, known as David's Law, is named for 16-year-old David Molak. He's the San Antonio area teenager who took his own life after being relentlessly bullied online. Now, David's Law will make cyberbullying that leads to injury or suicide of a minor a misdemeanor. Public schools will have to report the bullying and intervene. Well, President Donald Trump back on U.S. soil this morning. The 9-day foreign trip took our president to Saudi Arabia, Israel, the Palestinian territories, the Vatican, Belgium, and Italy, where he met with world leaders. At the G7 summit, the U.S. was the lone holdout in a united front on climate change, not signing on to a declaration of, quote, strong commitment to the Paris Climate Agreement, even after several days of behind-the-scenes lobbying and a personal appeal from Pope Francis. Now, the White House says the president's views are still evolving and that he'll make his final decision on this next week. Well, the FBI is investigating a deadly stabbing in Portland, Oregon that left 2 people dead. Officials trying to figure out if hate crime charges will be filed against the accused killer. It happened Friday afternoon when 2 young women boarded a train. The suspect, 35-year-old Jeremy Christian, immediately went on a hate-filled tirade against the woman. One of them appeared to be Muslim. Christian began shouting ethnic and religious slurs toward the passengers, and that's when 3 men tried to stop him. But Christian ended up stabbing 2 of the men, ultimately killing them.
I see that there's just blood everywhere. Looked like every punch that I saw was actually a stab.
And as you just saw, that's Christian actually taunting police to shoot him. He ended up trying to get away from the scene before police showed up. He does remain in police custody this morning. Well, new developments this Sunday morning on the investigation into the deadly terror attack in Manchester. It happened on Monday at an Ariana Grande concert and left 22 people dead and dozens more injured. ABC's Matt Gutman explains what investigators are now saying about the suicide bomber and what the pop star is doing to help those who've lost a loved one in the attack.
This morning, we learn about more red flags raised about Salman Abedi, the bomber who killed 22 people just outside an Ariana Grande concert on Monday. In this interview with the BBC, an official from Salman Abedi's mosque says the center's imam had previously reported him to police.
One of our imams had reported this person. The responsibility has been shifted to the police and to the security services.
And this morning, a friend of Abedi's tells ABC News that in 2011, he fought alongside a 16-year-old Abedi in Libya against the Gaddafi regime. They were part of the so-called Manchester Brigade. And now more details about Abedi's suspicious activities while renting this apartment.
He can smell a strong smell coming out from the carpet.
But Abedi slipped through the cracks. Today, the British government saying there are 23,000 current and former suspects and 3,000 so-called live suspects. But law enforcement sources tell ABC News they have the capacity only to monitor about 500 of them at a given time. This man's family member detained as officers stormed in.
When I opened the door, there was officers right in front, about 3-4 officers right at the door, pointing guns.
And the raids go on. This morning, 2 new arrests, 11 men now detained in connection to terrorism. And this city still very jittery.
Roll. Police cars swarmed this area, screaming, "Get down," telling people to get back, shut off their phones.
It was a false alarm, and as Manchester struggles to its feet, it got a huge helping hand Friday. Ariana Grande promising a return to Manchester for a benefit concert, saying in a statement, "We won't let hate win."
And British Airways now trying to get passengers back home this morning after a computer glitch left thousands of travelers stranded for the holiday weekend. Computer issues grounded flights, causing a total shutdown at 2 key airports in England. Over 300 flights canceled and nearly 200 delayed because of that issue. The airline blaming it on a massive IT system failure caused by a power outage. They did apologize in a statement on Saturday saying, quote, "We apologize for the current IT systems outage. We are working to resolve the problem as quickly as possible." Speaking of airports, the next time you head to one, getting through security might take a little bit longer. The new procedures you can expect, plus a woman who battled homelessness now getting her diploma from an Ivy League school, how she overcame major obstacles. It's 7:08 this morning. You're watching KVUE, where trust is earned.